If we talk about regime change, we have a certain set of issues to talk about. If we're talking about revolution, it's a different set of issues. It was not a spontaneous students' uprising. It was neither spontaneous nor students.
Do you think government of India was blindsided by what was happening in Bangladesh because we felt that Sheikh Hasina was an ally of India, was somebody we could trust. So we kind of ignored everything else that was happening. Do you think we were blindsided? And I ask you this because you are quoted in Deep's book as being hopeful that this current phase will not last. Are you erring on the side of optimism? And I ask you this because very often our diplomats are perpetually very optimistic people. Ideally, you should be very pessimistic, cynical and pessimistic, but you are very optimistic. But I ask you this because from whatever Deep has described right now and what is happening on the ground in Bangladesh, the optimism that you've expressed in the book, at least the way you are quoted, that this will come to pass, Bangladesh will recover and go back to its secular origins, on the basis of which the country came into existence. You are actually living in denial, ma'am.
Okay. So there are about 3 questions wrapped up in that one question. But I think first I'd like to say that the title of your event today is wrong. It's not revolution and its aftermath. It's regime change and the aftermath. So if we are talking about
that was my first question to Deep, actually.
Yeah, okay, I missed that. But if we talk about regime change, we have a certain set of issues to talk about. If we're talking about revolution, it's a different set of issues. It was not a spontaneous students' uprising. It was neither spontaneous nor students. So who was responsible for it? Well, since we're not debating it today, but I want to know that I want everybody to know that it is Mohammad Yunus himself who said in New York in September last year at the Clinton Global Initiative that this was not spontaneous. It was meticulously designed. And he introduced the mastermind, his own special assistant, Mahfouz Alam. So why are we still calling it a revolution? Why? If you're telling me I'm optimistic, is this pessimism or optimism? That even when Mohammad Yunus, the interim government chief, had said it's meticulously designed, why are we still calling it a spontaneous revolution? We are living in not me. I don't call it a spontaneous revolution, but everybody else does, ORF does, everybody does. Why? Let us first recognize what it is, then we can know what's happening and what will happen. So if we are all living in this fool's paradise that it's a revolution and was spontaneous, then how can you ask me why I'm being pessimistic or optimistic? So that's my first answer, okay? My second answer is that about Sheikh Hasina, let me take that issue head on. I think it is entirely wrong to say that this theory about all eggs in one basket, completely wrong. India will always deal with the government of the day. And even when Mohammad Yunus became the interim chief and our Prime Minister sent a message to him, it was that we are prepared to do business with you. We felicitate you. We're prepared to continue the cooperation we had built up over the last many decades with Bangladesh. But we also mentioned why are the minorities being treated so badly. The Hindus, the Christians, the Buddhists, the Sufis, the Ahmadiyyas, all minorities. I don't agree with you, Deep, when you say that that we should not talk about minorities. I mean, anywhere, even if 1% of a minority is hurt or injured in any part of India, there's a hue and cry. Hundreds and thousands are being, raped, lynched, businesses destroyed, taken over, and we're not even talking about it. Why? Who is living in the fool's paradise? Why are we quiet about all these things? Why can't we? And we are, buying in the world. Mohammad Yunus gave an interview this September again in New York, and he was asked about the minority killings. He said, oh, fake news from India. India is the home of fake news. And we keep quiet. Why are we doing all this? Why are we not recognizing that our most sensitive neighbor, with whom we had built a beautiful relationship, is now facing the nadir of their very existence, and we are just letting it happen? Sheikh Hasina, let me compare Sheikh Hasina for you with what preceded her. I was High Commissioner there when Begum Khalida Zia was the Prime Minister, the BNP government, with Jamaat as an alliance partner. I know the security issues we faced every day. It was every terrorist act in India at that time had a Bangladeshi footprint because the Pakistanis were fully in operation in Bangladesh and they were coming through Bangladesh and doing their terrorism in India. They were creating sleeper cells among the illegal immigrants in India, which they are now activating. So this security nightmare which we were facing, and when there was the Chittagong Arms Hall, enough weaponry to blow up the entire northeast and all the many other parts, there was the personal attack on Sheikh Hasina, and we were telling the BNP government every day, solve the security problems, everything will be okay. When Sheikh Hasina got elected, probably the freest and fairest and inclusive, I don't even talk about free and fair elections. Free and fair elections are not worth the name unless they are inclusive. Only then they can be credible. What is free and fair? Not inclusive means it's not credible. So when Sheikh Hasina was elected with the highest majority, 3/4, she immediately said, I recognize India's security red lines. So it's not Sheikh Hasina. We are after the principles of governance, of good neighborliness. And she said, I recognize India's security red lines. I will not support a single insurgent group from the northeast in Bangladesh. It is not beneficial to the people of Bangladesh that we should have, foreign insurgent groups here and we should support them. Paresh Barua ran away, Anup Chetia handed over to India. There was the next 15 years, there was peace and development in Northeast India, which we hadn't had for the previous 20 years. Even the people of Northeast India forgot about the existence of insurgent groups. For the last 15 years, they've had peace and development. And they have prospered and they have grown, and all the many insurgent issues have been resolved. Of course, Manipur has come up again in the last, all that is there. But this is the point. So the friendship with Sheikh Hasina is based on principles. Please don't call it, blindsided. What is all this blindsided? Blindsided by whom? We are blindsided by our own. We want to implement our own national interest. We want security. I think the relationship we built with Sheikh Hasina over the last 15 years is an excellent example of our neighborhood first foreign policy. It is a success story. One of the biggest success stories in neighborhood relationship development. I don't know why you're calling it as though she was something that we should never have been supporting.
No,
but that is the implication of what everybody says.
No, I don't care about what everybody's saying. But my point, when the question I was trying to put to you was blindsided by the fact that because we had a good thing going with Sheikh Hasina, yes, obviously the security aspect was the critical, piece of the puzzle, and she understood that, which is why the relationship went from strength to strength. And it was, and you are very correct, that it was good for Bangladesh as well, because, the development was not just India-centric, it was Bangladesh.
Mutually beneficial.
Exactly. So that what I meant by blindsided was that, look, there was a certain upsurge building up within Bangladesh.
Okay.
Should we not have been aware of what was happening? Because frankly speaking, I can't quote anybody and I'm not going to name anybody, but it seems that the kind of feedback we were getting from our missions in Bangladesh suggested all is well. And all was not well. And we got to know this, and it came as a bit of a shock, at least in the public domain. I don't know what happened behind power corridors. At least in the public domain, it came as a bit of a surprise, the suddenness with which everything happened in Dhaka.
Let me explain. I think definitely there was a very strong anti-incumbency feeling against Sheikh Hasina. No doubt about it. And she was criticized on things like Digital Security Act, that were reducing the freedom of the media, that your elections, why is it? Now, elections, I must come to the elections straight away. The BNP should have taken part in the elections. And I can tell you that there was such a strong anti-incumbency against Sheikh Hasina that had the BNP taken part, willy-nilly they would have won. They would have won because, I think it's a very Bengali trait that you want to change. You want to change. You say, okay, fine, we've had Sheikh Hasina, okay, she's good, but we want somebody else. So the strong anti-incumbency was there, and if the BNP had taken part, they would certainly have won, but they did not, and so Sheikh Hasina's party was returned to power. Now, I think that the anti-incumbency feeling definitely would have been there. But if you think that it is because of this student reform incident that the government fell apart, it did not. The government fell apart because of the way the regime change operation was planned. So unless you recognize that fact, there's no point talking about reasons which are not there. We're just, beating about the bush.